Okay, so we're going to be tying up a mini Optimus swine called the baby swine. It's a bad version of a really cool fly. Great Lakes fly, I think. It's this guy Eli. It's Eric Grayuski's brother. He ties a bunch of badass flies, and he's been tying the Optimus swine for a while. And kind of the musky size. So it's got a popper head tied in there in reverse. Makes it kind of walk the dog under the water if you tie it properly, which sometimes I tie them properly, and other times I do not. So there's that. That goes there. Okay, so what we're going to be tying with is Gamakatsu SL12S 1/0. We've got some mini-me popper heads in white, some Veevus 6/0 in white, some white craft fur, some cream craft fur, some polar flash, I don't know, it's kind of like an emerald green, whatever. Your eyes of choice. Maybe some crystal flash and bullfrog flash bow, if I want to do that. Oh, and then I think I top it with just some Angora goat in cream. But if you have ice dub in that color, or mix and match, the color pattern doesn't really, the profile doesn't matter. Color-wise, color scheme, whatever, you know what the fuck I'm trying to say. Let's just get this going. Okay, so I want to tie it in all white because it's usually a good baitfish pattern. Let's just pump the brakes real quick. Oh, big stretch because it's sore. Been trout guiding the last couple days. It's okay. I'd rather be steelhead guiding, but the Deschutes is closed. But riddle me this, and I don't mean to throw too much shade. Why don't trout fishermen get any better? They reach about a 3 out of 10, and then they just kind of give up. Just can't cast, can't mend, can't read water, can't see their fly, can't tell if it's dragging, can't see the fish, can't see the rise, can't detect a strike, can't figure out how to strip a streamer, can't figure out how to jig a streamer, can't figure out how to stand in the middle of the drift boat, can't understand how to let their back cast straighten out before they come forward, can't figure out how to stop their rod high instead of dropping it, can't figure out how to not rush the cast, can't figure out how to set downstream, can't figure out how to get out of the boat, can't figure out how to get into the boat, can't figure out to not reel the fish all the way to the tip of the rod, can't figure out why their fly line gets sucked down the rod immediately after that, can't figure out to give me slack when I net the fish, so just pull the fish out of the water, out of the net, can't figure out that I'll scoop it with the net, you don't need to try to lift it out of the water and drop it in like a basketball. I could kind of go on for a while, and that's why I prefer steelheaders. Every single one I've taken, if it's their first time out or they've fished before going with me, you fish with them like 3 years later and they're jacking like 90 feet, mending great, reading water, power wading through the Deschutes, handling fish great, in and out of the boat no problem, dress accordingly. Like when I'm like, hey, there's a 1/4 inch of rain, come prepared, and you show up in a members only jacket, you're a trout fisherman. I'm right here. I'm right here with them. Love them because I like guiding trout. I'm not a big fan of catching them myself, but the last couple days, I'm up to here now. So I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to tie fly. I'm going to have dreams of warm weather next spring. And let's get into it. Okay. 1/0. Jack always gives me shit like that because I'm like, oh, the 1/0. He's like, it's not odd. Who cares, right? Pop that guy in there. Get your thread. Start kind of at the point. Work it back just a couple turns. This isn't a very complicated fly. if you've seen any videos that I do, I over construct these guys, meaning I kind of add just a little bit of super glue at every moment, or every tie-in point, I guess I should say, just because I want them to last a long time. Like, this is like the first trial on it. It's not great, as you can tell. There's some stuff I wanted to change, but it's been beat to hell and it hasn't come undone. So just little tricks like that if you want to do it. If not, I don't care. Also, check out this new light by Loom. This is the old Infinity light. I mean, when Jeremiah brought this in, I was just like, no one's going to buy that. And I went from no one's going to buy that to can I buy that in like 90 seconds probably. Because I was like, that's ridiculous. But then I remember how much I love the Infinity light over like the bench light and the smaller one. And I was like, damn, if I like that one that much, this big old bitch, I mean, just from space, just across the table at your buddy's house, just, I got you. Just drop that UV. Yeah, I got you. COVID comes around, just UV, according to some people, UV lights, and you take this and put it up your butthole, turn it on, and you're good. Okay? Next step, get some either crystal flash or that polar flash that I showed you. Never mind, don't do that. Get some white craft fur and cut off a chunk. I don't know how much. It's not a number 2 pencil size. It's just a chunk of craft fur. And then, pull the under fur off of it. Just kind of lightly grip the top of these guys and pull out the bottom. And so this isn't a super long fly. Just kind of measure how long you actually want that tail to be. That's not too bad. I usually square off the ends there. And then just tie it in. Spin your thread if you want to. Don't matter. Okay, that's not working, so good start. Ta-da, we're done. And then you can grab said polar flash, like 4 or 6 strands of it. I don't think it matters if you had 10 or if you had 2, just something to get their attention. And you could taper this stuff again if you want, just get it at different lengths. I don't know, I don't think bass are that particular. Lay it on one side, couple wraps underneath, and then back again. Right? Pretty basic. And then we're going to start tying in some saddles. So I probably didn't hold this up. We're tying in some of these guys. And if you've tied, steelhead flies or musky flies, tiger musky flies, you want these big, long ones, thick and stuff. And then you got like these kind of shorter, skinny ones. And I couldn't really ever figure out anything to tie with them. Because again, I don't tie trout flies. So this is a great pattern to utilize those little mini hackle feathers. And so I just put one on top on the right side, tie it in, and this is kind of a Blaine chocolate technique he uses on, I think, the T-bone. So he kind of puts bucktail, we use craft fur, then some flash, and then he kind of puts that one's turning. He puts kind of 4 hackles on there. So 2 on top, 2 on the bottom. And that kind of encases, kind of protects that bucktail. This thing's being a fucking piece of shit. Jesus Christ. It's just a bass fly. Quit rolling. So I'm here, like I said. So there's going to be some outbursts. Then the one on this side, ta-da, and then you can just flip it and grab 2 more. Then same thing, You don't really want them the same length, so I don't measure them to make sure they're different. You just kind of look at them and you're like, yeah, they're different. And, you know, the top ones don't need to be longer or shorter. It's just, you kind of want to move in independently. Right? There we go. And then that guy on that side. And then you just cut those stems off. If I was really worried about it, I'd fold them back on top of the thread and then rewrap them in, but be fine. Because I'm just going to take a bunch of super glue, put it right there. Fantastic. Gonna take a little break and take a little sip. Good deal. So those are in there. Add a little bit of this. This bullfrog flash is pretty sweet. Just kind of a gold, blue, green combo. Pretty bassy. Again, take as many or as little strands as you want. Tie them in. I'm going to tie these in kind of on the top. Fucking super glue sticking to everything. Okay, so that's pretty good. And by pretty good, I mean is okay. Then we're going to get some barred, this Grizzly saddle hackle, same thing. Actually find a use for some of those feathers. Pick through this guy pretty good. So, let's see what we got. Not that one, not that one, not that one. Those are all kind of shit. I thought I got a better one in there. I really need to get a new natural grizzly cape. Okay, so something like that. Again, get it kind of on top for sure on this guy. And just like you do if you're familiar with tying intruders, you want it to go up and over. Like if this is the shank that's looking at you, you get the stem and you cross it, it'll give it that nice kind of arc like that. Don't tie it on the same side of the hook. I remember when I saw Jason do that from, well, he was working at our shop at the time, but owner of Portland Fly Shop. I'm like, man, how do you always get your hackles to go up and over like that? And he's like, oh, you just tie them on the other side. I'm like, why isn't this just general knowledge? Because I'd spend hours trying to get it to stand up, and not so much. Okay, so I'm putting the stem on this side, tying it in, then that guy's going to stand up somewhat okay. So we got that. Cut those. Attempt to cut those. Yeah. And then at this point, you can whip finish it, or just do it with your hand or whatever. Super glue it or UV cure if you want. Actually, don't use your UV cure. I forgot there's a step here. Don't use UV cure. First time I ever said that. But you can cut that off and get your mini popper head in white. And we got all this stuff at the shop. Here's that big brand promo. But we do. I mean, I do all the fly tying orders at the shop, and I want to have more bass stuff available. So checked with Jack. He's like, yeah, bring it in. So we got rubber legs coming out of our freaking eyeballs. We've got popper heads in small, medium, large. I mean, we got it all. If you want to tie bass bugs, we've got some shit. And they're just a lot of fun rather than just tying steelhead flies all winter long, although I like that too. I am fucking this thing to... Is that how it goes? Useless. Jesus Christ. Let's try that again. Like, how the fuck can't you just get a metal bod... Like, is this thing bent or something? I just want to get it through the hole. Can't find my other one. Million tools. Can't find them. I'm just trying to make this thing go straight through there. And as you can see, it just worked so well last time. There we go. Had to use the loon one. That just kind of opens that up a little bit because you're going to put this on backwards. So flip it around, backward style. And you got to work it a little bit to get it over that eye of the hook. And then slide it pretty far back. Just like so. Ta-da! It's pretty good. Then you can just get your thread, wrap it back on there, cut off the excess, and then we're going to just do the front part here. So you got some sweet little hackles, some flash, some grizzly hackles. Everything's looking pretty nice. And so now we're going to get our craft fur. And we're going to start with just the white stuff. Get a pretty good chunk. And the key for me for this is going to kind of start long. Like, I don't want it all the way back here because I want those fibers and stuff to move independently. So, like, maybe right there. So you got to cut a chunk of that off. And then just tie all that in reverse, okay? So grab the butt ends and just shove it over the eye of the hook up to that popper. Kind of loose wrap it to make sure that you get all those fibers. And then you can kind of tighten it up. I like to use a hollowed out pen. Just kind of separate it, get it in there, and push all that back. And then when I'm wrapping the thread, I actually wrap over that craft fur just like a little bit. I'm horrible with measurements, but I'm guessing like maybe a 1/16 of an inch. I have no idea what that measurement looks like. It just sounds right in my head. So my camera's stuck and they want to constantly turn off. What the heck? I set a timer. Is it going to tell me? I got 56 seconds left. I got to stop it every 19 minutes and re-record. So that's fun. That's what I want to do. I wish they would just make a battery. Like, it's Sony, right? Like, they have the technology. Just make a battery that you can record more than like 59 minutes. My Nikon's older. This is all information you don't give a fuck about. Let me just pause this and we'll get back to it. Good enough. Okay, we're ready to continue on. So you're going to double up on the craft fur every time. So 2 chunks of white, 2 chunks of kind of that tan cream. And then I think that's it. I kind of almost forget how to tie this fly, but I haven't tied that many of them. Cutting off a chunk. Pulling the guard hairs out. But like I said, you don't want to just tie it in backwards again and have it the same. I love group text. Let me just tell you, you want to just get on my Christmas list? Put me in a group text because that's what I want, is to respond to not one but like 5 other people and just have all their fucking stupid ass thoughts that just come out whenever just hit my phone when I'm just trying to relax. Like, whatever it is. I mean, any situation. Everybody's weighing in. Cool. One word, like, wow, thanks for that in-depth response. That took you hours. So even with my family, when I'm in a group text with mom, dad, my sister, and Skinny Bones, hit the button. Eric Leninger has left the group text. I don't want to be in them. I won't be in them. I fucking hate them. Here we go. We don't want this as long as this other shit, okay? So we want it like that short, right? So we're gonna cut a bunch of this off. This is kind of, it took me a while to get to that point, meaning like for some reason I didn't want to cut that much off. I'm like, oh, that's where it needs to be, but I'm gonna not cut that off because it seems like a waste of material that I bought. So I'm gonna leave it on there, and then my fly's gonna suck, and then I'm not gonna fish it at all, and then I've wasted a lot of material. So don't do what I do if you're doing it, and just cut the appropriate amount off. So get it again, shove the butts up against the previous craft fur, 2 loose wraps to kind of make sure that stuff's trapped, and then again you can kind of go that way, tighten it up. You can tell there's not like a lot of material in here. Maybe you can't tell because the fly's all white and the background's white, so I'm sorry this free tying video just isn't up to your, you know, specifications of how good it can be. Tell you what, buy me a professional studio and hire a bunch of professional photographers and videographers and have them get in contact with me, okay? And then they'll just be great from here on out, promises. Hit me up on the gram with the info that you need for me to make that happen, okay? So if it's doing that weird thing where it's like, I'm going to come back over the top, just tie it in. Just keep tying back. It's a lot of crap for in my mouth. Okay, so we got 2 layers of white in there. I just love this color, this tan, camel, cream, whatever you want to call it. It's great. Pale yellow, whatever. It just looks good. So we're going to get a chunk of that. And that didn't, I think I just cut all guard hair. Like I just cut it and it was like all was that short. So let's try that again. There we go. That's what it's supposed to look like, right? Shaky, shaky. Look at all that hair. It's everywhere in my eyeballs, definitely on the floor, in my mouth. Okay, so this stuff looks pretty good. Again, measure it like, oh, let's just tie it in here and just cover all the work we just did. Just cuz. You really want it pretty short. Just like, oh man, that seems kind of short. It is. Sometimes if it's super long, I'll just grab the really long ones and break them so the taper still, so that, you know, there's different lengths of craft fur in there, just to get a little bit more craft fur in there. So like, I kind of want it just like right there, right? Get it, cut it. And then same thing, grab it, shove it over the eye of the hook, 2 kind of loose wraps. Make sure it's getting caught in there. Yeah, it's not great, but what the fuck? And then kind of wrap towards the previous craft fur, like so. And you're like, man, that doesn't really look like a lot. It's not. It's not a lot. Remember what we just talked about? I don't want a lot. I just want a little bit at the front, kind of for a color change. And you want that stuff to kind of be moving independently. Ow, that hook is sharp. So, yeah, that's what you want it to look like. And then just another chunk of that to just make that color stand out a little bit, fill it in a little bit more. Just get that guy, pull all the under fur out. It's just the same steps kind of over and over and over and over and over. Make that guy pretty short. Over the top. Around and around. Uh-oh. Stuff tried to escape. Here we go. That pen, push it back. Very nice. Cool. That's looking good. And then we're going to just do a real quick one of those. And rub that in. And then you can just grab any ice dub or any, you kind of want it longer. Some of that ice dub's real short, so just find something that's a little bit longer and kind of that pale yellow, cream colored, whatever. This stuff's a little curly for my liking, but I like the color a lot, so I'm using it. And then I just grab it, just grab the ends and just keep separating it so you get kind of the material to have the same length. And then just split it in half. Same thing, shove it over the top of that hook. Kind of pick it out. So it's all kind of the same all the way around, not heavy on one side or the other. There's no blank spots. And then just kind of push that guy back too. And then just like a little thread dam, taper it back just so it doesn't crowd the eye too much. Ta-da! There we go. Baby swine. That looks great. I just impressed myself. And then you can get your toothbrush or your dubbing brush or whatever you want to call it. Just comb it back a little bit. And that is about it. You can stick eyes on her if you want. I usually do just because I like the way it looks, but if it's a guide fly, I don't think it's super necessary. Just whip it. And then get your UV Cure Pro Sport Fisher stuff. It's the best stuff right here. Get it and just kind of get some on there. And then I just, oops, don't move the table. Then I just kind of paint that UV Cure on that thread. If I try to squeeze it out of the bottle on these smaller flies, it just goes all over the material and just completely ruins it. And I love when that happens, you know what I mean? You just work super hard on a fly and then you're like, man, that's great. That's totally going to catch a bunch of fish. And then you just get lazy at the last part and you're like, oh, I can wing it and just throw some Zap-A-Gap on there and it's ruined. And then you start throwing shit. Let's use the big light. And it's geared, just like that. It's like a little rattle in there. I don't know what it is. Okay, we're done. You're welcome. There it is. The baby swine. Small version of Eli's Optimus swine. So I just threw it in a glass of water. A jar of water, I guess. Like that big. Whatever. It's completely neutrally buoyant. It's rad. So with that popper head, you throw it in there and say that's the water line. Say that's the water line. The fly's right there. So, and with that reverse popper head, the way you want to fish it, cast it out. So, pro tip, cast it into the water, away from you. Tip number 1. And then the strip is kind of like these longer, kind of steady strips, like long strip, because as you strip it, longly? Is this a fucking word? Am I stupid? Do I have a bad vocabulary? Signs point to yes. As you strip that longer strip, Jesus Christ, it should walk the dog. So you strip, it goes left, you strip, it goes right, and it's going to be just subsurface. In little strips, it should do a little walk the dog. Which drives bass crazy. I don't know. But it should in the springtime, especially with like the outgoing smolt migration that we have on all these rivers, or on the John Day or wherever you find bass. Pretty simple pattern. Cool movement. Nice big gap on that hook from the SL12S, and just a cool pattern to have in your box for warm water species. So many thanks. Right now, I'm telling everybody tomorrow night during Friday Night Flies that I spent time recording a real-time video for you guys, okay? So you're welcome, and no one's going to watch it, so I just wasted my time. Thank you.